5:15, we'll get our meeting started for this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all for coming this evening. Roll call will show that all council members are in attendance. Randy has an introduction, would like to introduce a new employee this evening for his team.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Heath Goldwitzer. He started with the city in the street department a week ago today. And he comes to us with some experience in mechanics and in CDL driving. And Heath and his family live here in Carroll. So we're excited to have Heath start with the city of Carroll.
And we hope you'll attend all the meetings here.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you'd like to leave, you're welcome.
You're only kidding. You don't need to stick around. We're glad to see you though, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll give
Straight ignoring you.
All right, this evening, it's time to present an award, I guess, to ourselves. This evening, it's the Tree City USA Award for the 34th year in a row. Carroll has earned this award, and part of it is to sign a proclamation, which I will read to you now. Whereas Iowa's trees were a significant attraction to early settlers because of their multiple benefits and the beautiful environment they provided, and whereas trees are an increasingly vital resource in Iowa, enriching our lives by purifying our air and water, helping to conserve our soil and energy, creating jobs through our forest products industries, serving us with shade for our recreation, providing our wildlife with food and shelter, and making our communities a more pleasant place to live and work. And whereas, with the cooperation of all Iowans, the benefits of trees can be passed on to future generations through tree planting and conservation of this renewable resource, and whereas each year on Arbor Day, the people of Iowa pay special attention to the benefits of our trees and dedicate themselves to the planning and management of Iowa's forest resources. Now therefore, I, Gerald Fleshner, Mayor of Carroll, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in Carroll, Iowa. I will urge citizens to participate in tree planting programs that will ensure a greener Carroll and a greener Iowa, and to nurture, protect, and wisely use Iowa's natural wonder of trees. So that's really quite an accomplishment for a city to have it for 34 straight years like that. If anybody is interested in planting a tree, that'd be a great day to do it. It's right season for it and everything like that. So we encourage participation in that Arbor Day on the 26th. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the April 8th, 2024 meeting, approval of bills and claims, licenses and permits, which include the renewal of Class E retail alcohol license for Walgreens number 10770, renewal of Class B retail alcohol license for Sparky's One Stop number 29, renewal of Class E retail alcohol license for Casey's General Store number 3025, a new 5-day special Class C retail alcohol license for Lucky Wife Wine Slushies, a special event at Katie Lynn Boutique on May 4th, 2024, and a resolution granting permission to serve and sell alcoholic beverages, a new special Class C retail alcohol license for the Carroll County Softball. So if there's not any discussion, I'd seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
By Tom and Jason seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Romero?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
All right, very good. We'll move on to oral requests and communications from the audience. If there's anybody out here, if there's someone out here that wants to speak on something that's not on the agenda tonight, we would welcome that at this time. And we have someone this evening, great. Come up to the microphone, just state your name and go ahead, you got 5 minutes here.
My name's Eric White. I own Barrel Smoke Barbecue and Catering, food truck, and we have a location in Templeton. It's about the food truck permits, and I know some of us spoke beforehand. But they never, if they did have a permit, it was never enforced. And then this year we were told that there's a $25 a day permit, not a yearly one. So Des Moines $200 per year, other places are $100, some are $50. So right now, if a food truck set up every day in Carroll, that's over $9,000 a year. Also, my main concern was I was told by Brad that he informed me that the reason they're doing the permits now, because the restaurants don't want the food trucks in town because they're taking all the business. And then when you hear that from a public official and there is no yearly permit, so I just wanted to check clarification on this stuff.
Is that all you need tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to implement a yearly license. for the food trucks.
You'd like us to consider
Yeah.
implementing a yearly instead of a daily license?
Well, all the other towns do have dailies also for food trucks that aren't planning on a long time, which is fine. I understand having the permits. But like for Des Moines versus how many people are there, $200 a year, that same coverage here would be $9,000. So,
They aren't paying that much there is what,
no, they're paying $200 a year
correct.
or 25 a day like you guys are offering now, but
So,
What do you think a fair yearly,
I tried to look a lot of them. They're all over the place based on how many people are in the county. I mean, Atlantic is $250, which that might be the closest,
okay,
but then Des Moines $50 cheaper for a lot more people. So, but just not having the option for the
so you're in the
yearly.
range of anywhere for 300 or below or something like
Yeah.
that? Okay, that makes sense.
all right, it's something for us to consider, definitely. It's not something that's come up in the past. I applaud you for coming up and bringing it up this evening, and we'll look into that. I certainly will. And we might have you back for some more question and answering time.
No
So
problem.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. All right, we'll move on to ordinances. The first is the Carroll City Ordinance, Chapter 69.08 Amendment, second reading, and Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for the parking zone between 10th Street and 11th Street on Main Street, west side of the road. It's currently a no parking zone. As you may have noticed at the pickup time at the end of the school day, that road is used for the loading of the parents to wait till they can pick their kids up when they're released from class. So the ordinance that I presented to you at the last meeting was to make this a loading zone instead of a no parking zone in the same location. And this will be the second reading. Since the last reading, I have not heard anything either for or against the ordinance. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and have the second, waive the third, and approve the ordinance.
All right, has anybody else had any responses or anything about this? All right, if we don't have any questions about it, then I would seek a motion to approve the second and waive the third reading on this. Jason? please.
Second.
And Tom seconded. All right, let's go to a roll call vote, please.
Atherton,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Schreck,
Yes.
Warnero.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Need
Motion
adopted.
to adopt, yep.
We need a motion to adopt then. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Carolyn and Laverne seconded it. Roll call on that, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Warnero.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. All right, the second ordinance this evening is amending chapter 156 sign code, second reading, and this one goes to Dan, I believe.
Mayor. Yes, this is in reference to the zones of A2 and RB1, where there is no sign code in those locations, and we would just adopt those into the A1, which it gives us some guidelines of what size of signs and things like that we can enforce in those areas. We have not received any comments on the sign change, and would like the mayor and the council to consider the second reading on the ordinance, and possibly
Consider waiving the third since you had no complaints and you're
No
comfortable with
complaints
this
at all.
going forward. All right. Any comments from the council? I would look for a motion to approve the second and waive the third reading then, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's by JJ and Jason, seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Atherton.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Warnero.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And now a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Laverne and I think Kyle. All right, roll call vote, please.
Warnero.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you, and Dan, for your work on that. Next next ordinance is vacation of a portion of Northwest Street. This will be Randy. We need to open a public hearing for this. And it is 5:25 right now, so we'll open a public hearing. And Randy, what is this about?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. In February, you accepted the release of an easement from Carroll County for a section of land along Northwest Street, section of right-of-way. It was actually 53 feet wide from the center of Northwest Street to the east and 2,164 feet beginning at 30th Street extending south, 2,164 feet. It's now proposed to vacate the east 13 feet of that parcel of land, of that right-of-way. And that would result in reestablishing a 40-foot right-of-way through that section of Northwest Street, which is consistent with most of the rest of Northwest Street in the area. The 53-foot easement that was originally granted to the county was for the purposes of construction of the paving on Northwest Street, north of the golf course maintenance building. So the 53 feet was used for construction, no longer needed. 40-foot right-of-way covers the roadway and the ditch, reasonable right-of-way width. The Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting on April 10th did review this and forwarded a recommendation to you to vacate that portion of the right-of-way. So at this time, following your hearing, I'd recommend your consideration of adoption of the ordinance vacating that portion of the right-of-way based on findings of that the street is no longer needed, that portion of the street is no longer needed for use by the public, and it does not adversely impact the access to abutting property, and of course, the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here that has any comments about this from the audience? Any questions from the council about this issue? Seeing none, I guess I will close the public hearing at 5:27. And we'll seek a motion then to approve the first reading on this issue.
So moved.
Second.
Jason and Tom. And roll call vote, please.
Shrek?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next one is rezoning request from A1 Agricultural District to R3 Low Density Residential District. And do we need to open a public hearing for this? And it is 5:28 p.m. And Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 10th of this month, the Planning and Zoning Commission met to discuss the rezoning of property to the east of Northwest Street proposed for the West Golfview subdivision. During the discussion, a commission was advised that the rezoning of this property from A1 Agricultural District to R3 Low Density Residential District is cohesive and compatible with the comprehensive plan and is compatible with neighboring land use. Notices of public hearings were published for both P&Z and city council meetings according to the Iowa state law, and proofs of publication are on file in the city clerk's office.
All right, any input from the audience this evening? Okay, so go ahead and come forward. We'll have, go ahead and take 5 minutes and introduce yourself first.
5 minutes?
Yep, that all right?
I'll need a little more.
Mark, you can take some of mine.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't an
How long
oral.
do you have this planned for, Mark?
It shouldn't take much longer than that,
All
but
right.
I hope there is no, I don't want to be
Okay.
censored either. And this is more than an oral request from the audience. It's public hearing. So-
Mark, I'm going to interject. And I respect that you want to weigh in, but we do have our policies and procedures manual for conducting meetings. And the for public
I'll
hearings.
talk really quick then.
5 minutes is, we aren't censoring anyone, I want you to know that, but that's in our policy.
Go ahead, Mark. We'll-
Thank you.
Yeah.
It didn't start yet. so
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
not taking
when everybody
my time.
campaigns, they're a good listener. Okay, my background on this, we all know what it is. It was a year ago this came up. The original price tag was about $725,000. And at that time, I kind of thought, well, you know, that dog might hunt. 10 lots at that time, $72,000 for a lot. You know, they're asking 70 down there, you know, maybe it'll work. Let's find out more. We're now at $1.7 million today at a minimum, okay? That does not include any change orders. And Tom, I know how we love change orders.
Change orders suck.
Well, and Tom, I know how you like soil compaction change orders. Are you aware that that golf course is built on a marsh?
I think all of
Okay.
Carroll's built on a marsh.
Also, this doesn't include any interest charges. A month ago, we were considering bonding for it, so at $1.7 million at a minimum, okay? Now, my understanding is at that meeting that you were going to have Aaron do an RFP, the quote unquote from the meeting, he'd have it within a week. Still haven't seen anything about an RFP. I certainly hope the RFP has a lot of definition in it and expectations on the developer or purchaser or whatever. The biggest concern I've got for this, obviously, is the taxpayers. The taxpayers are getting asked to foot much of this bill. Those of you that spend any time at City Hall, as you know, I spent quite a little bit of time here, and to sit there and listen to the volume of phone calls of people getting their water shut off. And these are the same people we're asking to foot the bill on this $1.7 million for 9 properties. Now, who will be the developer? I certainly hope it's not the city, because we've got a 20-year history out at Ashwood Business Park, and we all know how that turned out. There's 2 nonprofit, you know, the city developed that. We expected build it and they will come. They didn't. Okay, we still got 2 nonprofits still out there, and I think we get minimal income on it. Taxpayers got hung with that one. What will the RFP language contain? Will there be build requirements? Will there be dollar amounts on the houses? Will there be, you know, a time constraint? And most importantly, would there be a clawback provision should they not perform? ARPA has been brought up, that we might somewhat fund some of this with ARPA money to benefit 9 residents. We got nearly $1 million to benefit 9 residents. If used elsewhere, I've identified 3 shovel-ready projects that would benefit hundreds of our residents here, and another one that's waiting in the wings when you do Northwest Carroll Water. If this thing had legs, do you not think that the Harold Birrells, the Dick Collisons, the Martys and the Roman Stephases, and the Matt Grudemans would have done this before you did? Because it doesn't have legs. It's not economically feasible. I'm hurrying up. There's also an interest in the property to the west, owned by Pete Simons. Has anybody here spoken with Pete? Show of hands. I did. I called him. I know Pete very well. And I'm not going to speak for Pete. I encourage you to give him a call and be ready for an earful. But it's not very realistic, okay? Next, there's 110 acres north of, we say there's no land, there's no land, there's no land. There's over 60 lots available in Carroll. There's another 25 opening up down there. We've got 110 acres out here that Mr. Cothey purchased. And we called it a home run back then. Kyle, you can remember this. It was a great thing for the city. They annexed it. We zoned it, R3, R4. It's essentially ready to develop. I mean, it's where we're at today, okay? And I asked someone from the city I was still in office then, Jerry, and I asked toward the end of right after we were inking the deal with 704 on the 25, which I truly believe is going to be the template, I'm hurrying up, which is going to be the template moving forward. I think that was probably the way we're going to have to be able to get involved with the city. And I asked someone from the city to give Mr. Cothey a call and say, hey, we just made this deal. Would this move you guys along? Because nothing has happened, okay? And I was told that there was no interest. And then I also understood today that, quote unquote, stated that there is nothing to be done there. Well, I took the liberty of calling Mr. Cothey this morning, or this afternoon. Had a great conversation with him. He welcomed my call, appreciated my call. He's been sick. He's got leukemia, something I understand. We probably spent more time talking about that than we did building houses. But he's bullish on Carroll, and he's interested in doing something in Carroll. He asked that I follow up with him at the end of May, 1st of June, and see what can be done. Okay? There's interest there. It's already ready to go. Other people's money is what we're dealing with here, folks. I really ask you, would you invest $1.7 million of your money and see if that dog will hunt? Ask yourselves that. I'm about ready to finish. What's on tonight's agenda is just to reverse the P&Z's decision. It's way beyond that. What I'm urging you to do is something that I urged you to do July 12th last year when this thing went from 700 to 1.2 at that time. I knew then and there it was going to require taxpayer money to do it. I was out. The council went ahead and spent $100,000 to find out what we're finding out today, that it's even more out of the park than what we thought then. So I'm going to ask you that it's not nearly as important that we could have saved $100,000 if you would have just taken my recommendation then, but please don't get yourself in a position, well, we've already spent $100,000, now let's spend 1.6 more. And I'm going to end it there, and I'll visit with you again here shortly, but if anybody has any follow-up questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you for your time, and thanks for the 7 minutes.
Thank you. Any questions right now for Mark? No questions. Anybody else want to add on anything? Anyone else here want to speak or, okay. How about any, I guess I have one question for you, Mark, and you can answer it from there. You mentioned an RFP that we didn't have one yet, but
Yeah,
we wouldn't be able to yet, I wouldn't think, 'cause we're not that far along, but.
I don't know why not. The RFP could state that it's currently in an A1, A2 zone,
Okay.
and that if you had a satisfiable to the council number on the RFP, then you could probably convince the P&Z to move forward and approve it, which is that where it rightfully belongs.
All right, thanks. Anybody, how about here in the council, anybody have any?
Yeah, I'd like to add something. I think that I want to remind, like 2 weeks ago, I happened to question an appointment onto one of these committees. And it was told to me by numerous people on this council that we only select people that are more than capable of doing this. Does everyone remember that?
Yep.
Okay, so now we have people that are on these boards that are more than capable of doing this, and we want to overturn what they're doing. So when you do your vote tonight, right, people are watching. Like, you can't have it both ways. We're not just going to put people on boards that want to do specifically what you want to do. They're a non-political board. They're there for a reason, and that's why they're there. And so you guys can do what you want, but I will say that I wanted to point that fact out, that I was looked at like I was crazy when I happened to question somebody going on that board. And numerous of you told me that we only put the people that are more than capable of doing it.
Okay.
So I want to add a couple of things. I listened to the P&Z meeting, and there was 2 to 3 individuals on the board that asked, why do we have to develop this land? And I also heard it questioned about the cost more than once. Not only that, there was one person on the P&Z board that didn't know where this land was or that the city even owned it. I reached out to everybody that voted no, and I appreciate the ones that did get back to me, but there was a couple that did not. One of the responses I got was, it will encroach on the golf course. Makes me wonder, why was Randall Road ever developed and homes built there?
I don't know, are you asking me?
No, I'm just talking to everybody.
Sorry.
And then golf balls were brought up another time, is, homes being hit with golf balls. And the way I look at it is, if I'm buying a house, or if somebody's buying a house, they know that they have that chance of being hit. And if they're that concerned, there'd be more houses for sale on the golf course. I heard from one or two other people through that meeting that they will not live that long to see a return on this.
That's a fact.
So I did ask too, if this land was owned individually by, say, Kyle Bauer, how would this have been voted on? The costs are taken out of it. P&Z does not know the cost. How is this voted on? And if it's voted no, that tells me that we have a board that is not ready for Carroll to expand, which is sad.
Do you know what the payback is on this, Kyle? Has anybody extrapolated this out yet?
All right, go ahead.
That's all. Somebody said something about, we have lots in Carroll that are $30,000 and $40,000, and we do not. We're never going to. Other communities around us will, because they do get involved with some of this.
All right.
I just want
Go
one
ahead.
comment. Even though planning and zoning heard this, planning and zoning is an advisory board to the council. Doesn't matter what their decision was at the planning and zoning meeting, we as a council would still have to address and accept or reject their recommendation, no matter what it was. So I just want to clarify, we'd still be having this meeting no matter what. Don't make it sound like because they rejected the zoning that we're having a meeting to overturn that. That's not exactly accurate, because
That's
we
not,
are.
that's not what I'm trying to do.
Well, I understand that. I'm just trying to clarify the procedure that we have to go through. We still have to have this hearing no matter what.
Yeah,
So-
maybe my point didn't come across. My point was, we put them in a position to make a decision,
Sure.
and now we're just gonna overturn the decision. I mean, is that going to be the standard trend for all of these things, or is it just the P and Z?
Would that be an overturning of a decision? I have to ask you, Dave. It's not the overturning of a decision as much as theirs is an advice to us. Would that be accurate? Or am I-
Yes, by statute, the P and Z is an advisory
Correct.
commission.
So are we
So
overturning what they're telling us, or just using their input?
I would say however you interpret that, the council has the final decision. Okay? The council receives the recommendation of the P and Z commission. Council can then make their own determination. And the standard is the same with P and Z and the council. The standard is the rezoning consistent with the Carroll Comprehensive Plan? That's the question before the council tonight, as I see it.
So my question is it what you asked? Is it
That's a
consistent
council
with the-
decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
So does it fit the plan?
right. Yeah,
Right.
does it fit the plan?
Well, it certainly fits the plan in my mind of providing more housing in Carroll, yes. I don't know, does anybody think?
It doesn't fit the plan of the P and Z.
It's referring, and we are mandated by the Code of Iowa to follow the regulations established in Chapter 414. And if we don't, the courts don't look very favorably upon it. Would you agree, Dave? Like the spot zoning example that was given in our agenda. So all the regulations, the state regulates zoning decisions, and they're the same criteria because it's state code for every single incorporated town and city. So everybody follows the same stipulations in the code, and it's chapter 414. 414.3 says regulations and the comprehensive plan. 414 is entitled city zoning. I used to be on P&Z, and I think I brought this up at an earlier discussion we had on an earlier rezoning request. And when I came on, I was told your comprehensive plan is your Bible, and you better read chapter 414. Chapter 414 is in the paragraph at our Planning and Zoning Commission's website. It is mentioned. So you know that's your guide. And number 1 under 414.3 says, and this is all, Aaron included it in his memo. And what he's doing is referring and summarizing and paraphrasing the key points in the Iowa Code, which we are bound to follow. Without zoning, there's no path ahead, because you can put out all the RFPs you want, but if people don't know what the zoning is, how will they know? How can they plan? That's why you're called planning and zoning. You zone, people put together a plan. And in 414.3, regulations shall be made in accordance with a comprehensive plan. If you look in the comprehensive plan, we have a present land use map and we have a future land use map, which shows housing enveloping the entire golf course area. And actually, these are high-end houses actually working their way up to and abutting the driveway into the golf course. So the housing is there, it's quality housing, and it isn't, when you look at the map, you see there are duplexes too on the south. So it is consistent with our comprehensive plan. And maps are to be included with a comprehensive plan. Aaron also paraphrased, and this is chapter 414.3, the regulation shall be made with consideration as to the character of the area of the district. This is single-family housing, some duplexes, and the peculiar suitability of such area for particular uses. The area is being used for housing, high-quality housing.
I'm not sure what the time limit on us is. Are we getting to a point of this? I guess, like, we're
Right.
putting time limits on the public, so I want to make sure that we're hearing to our time limits.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Carolyn, to your point, you're spot on. I mean, you know P&Z in and out, like we both do. But it also, it spends quite a bit of time, there's a specific paragraph in there talking about suitable use. Do you recall that? And suitable use, this is not suitable to the taxpayers.
They're talking about how the land is used, but I'm not gonna argue with you.
I'm not here to argue,
But
I came for
that's
dialogue.
fine.
I mean, you guys,
Why don't,
you know me and I know you. You know who I am. I'm always gonna stand for the taxpayer. To my earlier question though, has anybody run a pro forma on this and see, if the taxpayers are gonna be made whole on this and when? Has anybody?
Mark, I think that comes down to, what's the proposal that we get from a developer?
I'll give you an example. Best case scenario, let's say they build 9 $675,000 homes. I think that's kind of what this all started with. And let's say someone gives us $600,000 and then the taxpayers make up the difference. Anybody want to take a guess? Somebody's good with math here.
Gonna take 40 years,
You're close.
somewhere in that time frame.
It's between 37 and 31, depending on what kind of change orders you have. And at best case, no change orders, you pay cash, no bond, and you got $675,000. It's just north of 31 years.
I'll be honest, I think we should be
When
thanking
the person
P&Z.
said, I'm not gonna be around to enjoy it, I mean, we build the town for the future, I get that. But 31 years, would anybody that's been in business up here invest $1.7 million with a 31-year return?
No, we wouldn't.
Serious.
I think we can all agree that when we started out, it was relatively inexpensive. And somehow it compounded and got more and more expensive. As we look at this, Carroll wants to grow. I mean, I guess my question of planning and zoning, because I wasn't there, was the true reason why you don't want it to be housing. Let's just forget it, set aside the cost of anything. Let's say we're gonna just develop it. Would you want it developed or not for housing? That would be my question. Forget the tax, we're all into this, so it costs too much. See, we're not even in the planning phase for
If they
yet.
want to address it, but
Yeah.
what I was told was.
And I'm just saying this, Mark, I'm just saying in general, it's on the golf course. There's nothing happening with this land, period, other than the fact that we're mowing it for 8 hours a week all summer long for the rest of our lives. There's nothing that's gonna be developed on it. Me, I just ran some quick numbers, because all the way back in 1973, we paid probably a total of $81,000 for the whole golf course. I'd thrown this out to a couple people that if we have developers, why don't we just give them that little strip of land, which might have cost the city $1,200, and say develop it for more housing.
Because Tom, the taxpayers have already paid for it.
Correct.
We own it already.
Correct.
Why should we have to pay for it again?
If you're worried about the lawnmower, you can pay me $1 million and I'll mow it for 30 years. I'll keep it mowed.
Oh, that's the issue.
You're missing my point. The city washes their hands after they give away the lot, okay? We're done. Take the lot, you develop it, create a tax base. The way I looked at it, the city, all the way back to 1973, we paid, I'm just roughly saying $80,000 for the whole golf course. If you give this strip to a developer and say, make 10 new houses, create a tax base, would that be all right for
And
the
we're not out
taxpayers?
the 1.7?
No, I'm saying this is an idea
Let's
I've thrown
talk.
around.
Well, we would have to because we got infrastructure going in there, right?
No, that's
he
developers.
said
You
developers.
So before,
Okay, now that's.
before we get crazy,
Give them say, knock yourself out.
Okay, we're not gonna discuss from the crowd like that, all right?
right, so
And if you
this
wanna
is
come
just
up
an
here,
idea.
Mike.
See, we're in the beginning phase of this, but you can't get anywhere without it being zoned, and it kind of sucks to say let's overturn it, but the idea is for Carroll to grow. And I agree with you. I don't want the taxpayers to pay any more than they have to. I mean, like we said, originally it was 700,000. With curbs, it was 1 million. Now with curbs, it's 1.6 million. And I didn't realize concrete went up by 33% in the last 6 months. I'm pretty sure it didn't. But we have to get somewhere and some kind of point that we can do this together as a city to help us grow. Otherwise, we're going to stay the same forever. And we'll never grow. We'll never have the amenities that we want to in Carroll. We'll never have the businesses come into that we want to in Carroll without housing. You know, the place north up there, I mean, that's great, but
So,
All right, Laverne, go
my
ahead.
turn, I guess. So, about a year ago or so, Overland Park was gonna go in.
yeah,
We agreed to spend $535,000 just to get that started.
Yep.
For 35 units.
yep.
Okay, we're at 1.7 million, and everybody keeps talking about 9 lots. This is more than the 9 lots. Granted, you're talking about the farmland, but, you know, the cost for the whole thing is the lift station more than anything else.
Yeah.
If a lift station needs to be put into a development, the city pays for that. Not the property owner or the developer. The city pays for lift stations. That's the major cost for this thing. That's part of our service to the community. Okay? Mark, you had mentioned Asheville. Just to update you on that, there's 6 lots sold out there now, not just 2. Whatever, I'm just trying to tell you that.
Let's get some tax base going and then I'll be excited.
Okay. In the 60 infill lots, about 5 years ago, we tried to get that and nothing happened. And what, last year or so, we tried that again and nothing happened. So
There's actually 38 infill lots along with what we have out at Northview.
Northview, all right.
Northridge.
So what I'm getting at is we don't have very many lots left. We have to look at whatever we can to get something started. Yes, this is high, but tonight, if you look at our goals that we did in November when we had our planning session, number 3 goal, acquire land for development. Okay, we've got the land. All we're asking here is to zone it tonight. That's our only discussion tonight, to zone it for development. Okay, we can decide on this development at a different time, but our vote tonight is to, to make it available for development with zoning.
I have a question real quick. Randy, maybe you can answer this. A lift station that goes in, how many houses can a lift station service? On average?
This lift station is being designed to serve certainly this property, plus about 100 acres of additional property.
Okay, so we're putting in a lift station for 9 lots. We go back to the guys not selling it. It's in a trust. I'm familiar with it. It's in a trust. That land there's no room for expansion. That's why P&Z is like, why am I even gonna do this? It's only 9 lots.
What about the land by the Little League fields?
Has anyone talked to those people?
Yeah, because that's the next step.
So P&Z is not going to zone a zone if
put the
there's
cart in
no
front of the
expansion.
horse.
You're putting the cart in front of the horse. P&Z is not gonna make a decision on a land that can't go anywhere.
P&Z
I feel like I would not, to just do 9 lots, I wouldn't do it. Like if I was P&Z, I'd be like, no, that is pointless. That is
So
absolutely
that's
pointless
coming down
do.
to cost. I'm gonna make a motion to rezone this to.
We're still in public hearing.
Okay.
So,
Well, the points are being repeated over and over.
Right.
I understand
Right.
where people are coming from, but we're regurgitating the same point over and over.
okay.
We need to move on.
Let's get something else, Jason, to say, okay. But we'll close the public hearing, it's 5:57 PM. All right, Kyle, if you had a motion you were ready to, you could do that.
Yep.
Hold on one second. I just have one question. The $100,000 that we've already put into this project, Aaron, I think I asked you this earlier today. Help me understand. The $100,000 that we've already put into it, what else is left in that contract?
In the contract itself,
Yeah.
Randy, I'm gonna defer to you on that. What else do we have left on the, before we can put it out to a RFP?
Okay, we have the, about 120,000 total in contract that includes the design work for all the public facilities, plus the platting, the preliminary and final platting, which those plats are completed now also. And then there's some of that 120 is for construction services. So if you go into construction, there's already some money designated for that. So we're close, we're at about 90%, plats are done, about 90% of the design work is done. And so we're right at the 100. So there's not much more expenditure until construction starts.
Okay. Thank you.
Providing that the city puts in that infrastructure.
And I recall it being 30 plat and 70 for design services. What changed to the 100?
It's about 40 for plat and about 77, 80 for design services. That's a round number.
But as long as we have it platted, we can put a for sale sign in it and any developer can walk in and say, I want to purchase this land as is.
And I'm gonna do it.
They know what they're buying.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
All right. Kyle, do you still want to make a motion at this time?
Yes, make a motion to rezone this to R3.
So it'd be the first reading.
First reading.
This is,
Yeah.
yeah, this would be just reading one, so. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, Kyle, and seconded by Carolyn. Roll call vote, please.
Strack,
No.
Seaman,
yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Atherton,
No.
Renier.
Yes.
And it's approved 4-2.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. move on to, that's the last of the ordinances. How about resolutions? US 30 West Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension, 2024. And Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. In November of '23, you entered an agreement with Snyder and Associates for services necessary to develop the West US 30 Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension. That is the project to serve the proposed Ziegler site. And that project envisioned extension of water main and sanitary sewer west along US 30 with an inverted siphon crossing of the Middle Raccoon River for the sanitary sewer. As that design progressed, it was determined that the inverted siphon would not function due to the lack of sanitary flow. So the decision was made that a lift station would be required at that, to serve that. We have prepared an additional services agreement with Snyder and Associates to add in the cost of designing the lift station as opposed to the inverted siphon. It's really, the services are detailed in the agreement, but in summary, there are services for easement. The lift station and sanitary sewer are projected to be placed in an easement, which will need to be prepared with Ziegler. Design services for the lift station itself, and then subconsultant services, which are the electrical and communication services that are necessary for the design of the lift station. So in total, these additional services are $34,450, which would bring that contract with Snyder and Associates to $133,800. And the total project cost with those design fees and then adding in the estimated construction costs would come in at about $1,028,000. Okay, that amount is projected to be financed through tax increment financing from the improvements in the Ziegler property. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend your consideration of approval of the resolution approving the supplemental services agreement with Snyder and Associates for the US 30 West Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension.
Okay. Any questions from council?
How was this missed, I guess, on the first estimate? It seems like a lot of times we get these estimates and for some odd reason, this is just more of a general, I've been here for 5 months. I constantly feel like there's change order, as Tom said. How are these things always missed, I guess?
Well, in this particular case, the anticipation was the use of an inverted siphon, which was the first choice of river crossing. But the flows out there, the Ziegler building was changed, and the projected sanitary sewer flow from that was reduced. We did add in some additional flow from the west, but it was not enough to permit an inverted siphon to function. And we didn't know that until we got into the design work. So that's where you uncover these things. And, you know, we could still build a siphon at that original cost, but it wouldn't work, you know.
And then, are they not changing, I guess, are they not changing their building plan so I don't get nickeled and dimed all the way down for this not working? If they have a change in their building that's now costing me money, is this like, is it solidified down like what they're going, this is their building, this is how much it's gonna cost, and we do to our best engineering capability to get this thing. Now, if they make a change, that's gotta fall on them at some point in time. Otherwise, I'm just a rabbit chasing my tail, right?
Well, I think that, you know, Ziegler will build the building that they need to build. I mean, they're going to do that. In your agreement with them will be where you address whatever division of costs there are. And at this point, there's no agreement with them now.
Okay.
At this point, it's anticipated that the tax increment from the Ziegler, regardless of the size of the building they build, will be utilized to build the services to serve their building, their property. And then, of course, this is also designed to accept flows from, once again, about 100 acres. So we're projecting whatever future growth there is to the west along US 30 that this lift station would also serve.
Okay.
All right, with that said, I'd seek a motion to approve the resolution approving the supplemental agreement for additional service number 1 with Snyder and Associates Incorporated for the US 30 West Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension Project.
So moved.
By Tom,
Second.
second by Laverne. Roll call, please.
Shrek?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Atherton?
No.
Cornell?
Yes.
Motion is carried 5-0.
Okay. All right, that's all for resolutions. We have one report, I believe, this evening. It's on 1114 North Main Street in Huron.
Correct. On Friday, we received sealed bids for the purchase of this property they were received at 3 p.m. by April 19th. The city only received one bid from PKDW LLC. Their bid amount to purchase the property is $12,500, and they are proposing to build a multifamily housing unit on that property. The units will be rented or sold as affordable housing. Demolition on the property would take place immediately upon signing over the deed. So I would recommend review of the bid and approve of the resolution setting a public hearing. We can't approve the bid until we go through the public hearing, so we need to approve the resolution setting a public hearing for May 13th on the proposed sale of city interest in 1114 North Main Street.
Aaron, will you remind me what the minimum bid was? Was it 12,000?
Yes, 12,000.
And this is at no cost to the taxpayers, so it is possible to build houses in Carroll without having taxpayers' money. Correct?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, that was a question to anybody up here that would like to answer it. We'll go with silence as consent, I guess, on this one.
All right, we'll look for a motion to approve the first reading for that as presented.
Well, let's approve of the resolution setting a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Laverne, AJ would be the second.
Laura, I will not be voting on this one.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Atherton?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Shrek?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Cornell?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Right, and I did say there was only one resolution, I was mistaken, there is another one. Or report, I mean, on downtown assessment report recommendations. And Aaron?
Yes, Your Honor. On April 2nd, Jim Thompson of the Iowa Economic Development Authority Business Specialist talked to city staff and city council. Recommended that the city proceed with a number of options to grow the downtown business area. Staff their recommendations was allocating $315,000 from local option sales tax to be reimbursed by tax increment financing for demonstration facade projects, and then setting up 5 downtown facade projects, annual projects, then a marketing contract and marketing services, branding, and wayfinding for a total of $315,000.
Any more discussion on this?
Well, I was at a meeting in Ames 2 weeks ago, and Jim Thompson approached me, and if we don't get moving on stuff, they're gonna take us off their list and put another city in our place. So it's either move now or,
And that would cost us potential grants from, if they moved on.
that was his comment.
Yep.
He made that comment to us when we were together too.
Okay. Anything else? All right, well, have to take this in two motions. First, to accept the Iowa Economic Development Authority's Downtown Design Guide. I need a motion for that. Need a
So
motion?
moved.
All right, by Carolyn,
Second.
and second by Jason. Roll call vote for that, please.
Atherton,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Fornero,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Streck,
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay, and a second motion, we would need to approve allocation of $315,000 from local option sales tax to be reimbursed by tax increment financing for downtown, demonstration grants, downtown facade grants, and a marketing plan for the city, please.
May I ask a question? Just a question.
Come on up.
First off, I want to make it ultra clear that I read the thing over. I did not read the entire guide. That was quite the diatribe. But it would be my understanding that this is going to be implemented as relatively as soon as possible, or as soon as we can get. But we just inked our fiscal year 25 budget, and one has to assume this was not budgeted. So are we asking the council to amend a budget that the ink isn't even dry?
It's local option sales tax.
But you still have to account for it. It wouldn't be in your property tax levy, but you'd still have to account for it, like any other local option sales tax expenditure.
It would be in a budget amendment starting probably this spring, actually, and going into next
And it would
year.
require an amendment.
Yeah,
to
it
this local
requires
option
an
sales
amendment to.
Would you budget fiscal year 20, or would you amend fiscal year 24 or 25?
Yes, both of them.
Okay. And I want to make it clear, I'm not necessarily opposed to it whatsoever. I mean, I think that, you know, it's got legs, I think. But the only concern that I've got, and using local option sales tax is the appropriate fund, I believe. But I just want to caution the council to be aware of what we've already hung that fund with already. We've got a 19-year commitment for the rec center for, I believe, $500,000 a year.
400 and some thousand.
And
Right at
change.
400.
Okay, I rounded up. And that's a 19-year commitment. And then something that I urged the council, well, actually Laura and Aaron to keep mindful of is when we did Adams Street, we used $775,000 over 3 years of local option sales tax, kind of saved it up so that, you know, we wouldn't have to, you know, bond as much. And remember, this is a long-term strategic goal, is to do a full-depth reconstruction every 3 years. I believe 12th Street is the next one that's on the list. And so I would just urge that the council be mindful of saving up for that. That was $775,000 over 3 years. And in addition to that, there was $1 million that this council approved, or half of the council approved, I appreciate it very much, that we used unspent reserve money from TIF to not do phase 11, which was a wise decision, so we didn't bond a plug nickel for Adams Street. That was a wise decision. So again, as we're doing this, I only just want to make sure that everybody in the room understands that, you know, we can still, you know, our revenues are good, we want to keep them good, we want to grow our revenues, but with $2.1 million roughly per year, we've already got that much allocated. I would just want to make sure that, you know, the council's aware of that. And then another question I would have is a program that I believe I authored last year was the Catalyst Grant Match Program, which was for another $100,000. Is this going to be over and above that? Or is that going to go by the wayside, or? Okay, so now we've got a potential for, and that was coming out of local option sales tax. Okay?
So, wait, if I'm clear, you can only apply for one or the other, right? Like you can't get a catalyst grant
Guide
and
doesn't
you
say
can't
that,
get
but-
this $100,000 too.
Emergency catalyst grant? No, what the catalyst grant, in order to get that, the city has to match up to $100,000.
Yes, but let's say the same
So-
building goes in and gets a catalyst grant. We're not gonna then in turn run another $100,000 into them to, are we? Is that the plan?
In order to get the catalyst grant for $100,000 from the state, The city has to match that.
I understand that.
So, but above and beyond that $100,000, no.
So we have these $100,000 for these new.
Demonstration grants.
Demonstrations, right?
Correct.
I just want to ensure that the demonstration doesn't also get a catalyst grant too.
Correct.
Because
No,
there's,
it wouldn't
it's
qualify.
one
It
or
probably
the,
wouldn't
one or
qualify.
the other. I just want to make sure that it's one or the other, that when you go in for this, we either give you a demonstration grant of the $100,000 or you get the catalyst grant.
It probably wouldn't qualify for the catalyst grant, so correct. So
I
you are
I
correct.
hate the word probably.
Well,
Probably's
I
bit
can't give you,
myself
I
in the
can't
butt
give
a
you the
lot of
exact
times.
answer because I've never applied for a catalyst grant.
Can
but
we
the
put
answer
that
to-
in this thing that like you either get one or the other? I mean, I don't know how hard that is, the wording of if you get this, then you're not gonna get, you know what I mean? Because we gotta spread the wealth some here, like we do.
Not yet.
Okay.
He asked my next question, but I mean, it's your program. You can stipulate that, you know, you're only gonna get $100,000 and not two $100,000. I mean, that's your
Correct.
program, and that's your council decision. I'm just adding a word of caution that you've already got that out there. And if I was a wise downtown business, you know, I'd try and stack as many as I could too. The next questions I would have is, again, I didn't read all the details of the guide, but is our Catalyst Grant Match program requires skin in the game? Is there skin in the game in this?
Yeah, there is.
Correct.
Matching. It's matching.
The demonstration grants are one-to-one matches.
Perfect, thank you. And then, yeah, and then I saw that there was some well-defined qualifications that I won't belabor. And then, will this be open to all City of Carroll businesses or only the CBD?
Because we're using downtown urban renewal funds to reimburse local option sales tax, the area is essentially, it's a little bit bigger than this, but it's essentially from Main Street to Carroll Street to 7th Street down to the railroad tracks. It's a little bit bigger than that because I can't verbally give you a picture of that, but that's essentially the downtown urban renewal area in the downtown area.
Yeah,
is
the
what we're
central
trying to-
business district
Yes.
that we all know it as?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody who's just outside of that
Nope.
doesn't get an opportunity?
Correct.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
I just want to mention the local option sales tax. We figure we're getting about 2.1 million a year. And I'm looking at page 75 out of our fiscal year 2025 budget, the cover sheet and the fund balance we are expecting to carry over from the current budget we're in now that ends June 30th. We're expected to carry over $1,173,000, $1,173,000. So it will be carried over, and we're showing at June 30th of '25, we will anticipate having 1.6 million carryover in '25. So we're sitting well with our local option sales tax. Again, that's on page 75 in our, in the budget book.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, I just, can we add that in one or the other? Is that, I think that you can either apply for, is that,
Only qualified.
do we have to send a motion to put the one or the other, or?
It's your program.
Oh,
Well, we're still kind of working on the program, so yeah, if the council wants that to be part of their program, that's fine.
so we have to do a motion to get that, or
Well, it's not on tonight's
It's not
agenda,
on
right?
the agenda.
Can't do it.
do we table it?
Well, you put it on next agenda, but you can't do it tonight. You can't vote on it tonight. It's
Okay.
not on the agenda.
All right, so you can still vote to allocate this
Yep.
at this time and have that put on the agenda for the next meeting,
Okay.
okay? All right, I'll look for the, I already mentioned it, but to allocate $315,000 from lost funds to be reimbursed by tax increment financing for downtown demonstration grants, downtown facade grants, and marketing plan for the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, by Jason
Second.
and Kyle. Roll call vote for that, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Cordero,
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
All right, any committee reports that we have, you can all review those, I'm sure you have, anything that you need to. Any comments from the mayor this evening? I have one. and that is that I'd like to make a comment on the Hub 712 building, which it was very neat to go and see on April 9th at their ribbon cutting service, and it's very exciting to see something like that come into Carroll. And I see you, Kimberly, are here tonight, so thank you very much for all your work. I didn't even realize you were out there, but thank you for all you did to get this put in Carroll, and I'm very excited to see what comes of this, and I'm very optimistic about it, so thank you very much. And thanks for the city of Carroll and everybody in the CCGP for all their work in getting this here in Carroll. Let's see, how about from the city council, any comments yet?
Yeah, I wanted to talk. I went, 2 weeks ago, I went to the Iowa Rural Development Council. And when I go to these, I like to give a summary of what I found out so the other council members know what happened at that council meeting. A couple things. One thing they're starting is, it's called Raise to Stay, which was kind of interesting. They're just in a pilot program on that, but they're trying to get high school kids and college kids. It's called Raise 'em and Stay. So you need to go to high school or to, like for us, DMAC, and tell them what's available in the city or the surrounding area for employment for what they're going into. And they have a format that they can follow on that. So that's a new program. And the other new program that they're just starting, I thought was very interesting. It's the University of Northern Iowa, Iowa State, and Iowa are joining forces to help cities. And they picked Manchester and Keosauqua as they're starting. This is just in the pilot program. And it's no cost to anybody, but these three universities have joined together to help. And for like Keosauqua, they're on the Des Moines River, and they want to build a boardwalk. So they're gonna, Iowa State University is going to do the architect design for it, their students will. The University of Northern, of Iowa are gonna do all the legal fees, not the legal fees, the legal documents, so they can legally do this. And the University of Northern Iowa are gonna use their students to help sell this to the community, either through donations or whatever they have to. So that's a brand new program that's started.
Maybe they want to fix our band shell.
Was asked to talk about the Hub 712 also when I was there, and a lot of the Iowa State University people were there backing what I had to say on how important this is, and this will get statewide recognition because we're the only ones in the state doing it. Then we got into housing. This got quite interesting. We just passed the abandoned housing ordinance. Sat next to the mayor in Newton, and they've been doing this for 10 years, and they're still doing it. They did 657As on some of them, but it has been greatly appreciated by the surrounding homes or businesses of the ones that were abandoned, that they got them cleaned up and fixed. That's the biggest thing that they got out of that is the people around those particular homes. Many cities are buying land. We had that on our thing, is to buy land. So I was interested in that. Some cities are buying from 20 to 100 acres. Iowa, I think it's Iowa Falls. People get up and talk and they give their city names. Sometimes you don't hear it, but I think it was Iowa Falls. They used ARPA money and bought 100 acres of farmland with other money. And what they did, they exchanged that 100 acres of farmland for 60 acres of land right next to the city limits. So that's what they did. And then they were able to get housing done a lot easier that way. Nevada used their ARPA money and bought the land and gave that land to a developer with the understanding they had to build so many homes in such a period of time. Then I went to another meeting of population of 5,000 to 10,000. Basically, you know, you just randomly got up and said what you want. You know, they got, you know, some of them got up and said, well, we did a splash pad, or we did, you know, trails and stuff. And usually it boiled down to an economic developer was a person that had to do a lot of this for those cities. And one of the reasons the economic developers, they did all the state grants, the federal grants, and private fundraising. So it was quite interesting to see. I sat down with the Denison guy, the economic developer from Denison, and he's constantly writing grants. We really don't have anybody on staff to do that at this point, so that's something we need to think about too. So we got talking about LMI houses in one of the areas, and it's different now than what it used to be. Years ago, the cities never really had to allocate money for housing or anything, but it just doesn't pencil out for these developers much anymore, especially for LMI and especially for the L part, the low. They just can't make it pencil out. So the moderate income, everybody was at this meeting was saying that, you know, they got to do some type of incentive to get LMI housing. And then just last week, I went to a workforce housing tax credit in Coon Rapids that Kate Mason put on. It's amazing, and she's their city developer and economic growth developer. It's amazing what they've done. Through her, they have raised $1.2 million in either state grants or some type of money that was allocated to them through grants. I don't know if it's all state or whatever it is, but that's quite a feat for a small town. And one of the things that, you know, I think I was the only person from out of Coon Rapids that was there. And the thing that's kind of struck me is when we got all done with that, she said, if any of you developers or homeowners or so want to apply for this free money, tax credits, she said, I'll do that for you. That's her job for those people. So those guys are saying, like, you know, this is a piece of cake. Let's do it. So I think that's just important. You know, a city has a person like that. You know, look what she's done in Coon Rapids. That's what I've done.
All right, thank you very much. City manager, any comments this evening?
I don't have anything tonight.
Very good. All right, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
Second. Third.
I think Jason, you won.
Oh, I got this
Tom
one.
Tom is the second.
God, he beat me.
Roll call vote, please.
Atherton?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Strack? Yes. Dirk?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.